Well, good morning. Come on in. We'll get started here. I'm John Lee, St. Louis Real Estate Investors Association. Today is June 28th. So we're coming up on the end of our second quarter. So how's everything going for your second quarter of the year? We're half over. So you should be about halfway done with all your goals, I guess. Or actually, I started making more plans than goals these days because goals seem to come and go, and the plans you just adjust accordingly and keep going. So that's what I've kind of found makes it easier. Anyway, we'll have Laura do her disclaimer. I've got a few announcements, I guess. We'll go ahead and get started with some of those. We appreciate Ann last week, Ann Bollinger being our host, because Laura and I were at a tax sale seminar, Missouri tax sale seminar on the other part of the state. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But we appreciate that. I know we had some technical difficulties. I know some of you guys probably tuned in anyway. We appreciate it. Appreciate your patience, but seems like every time I think I got it figured out, Zoom decides to do something different. So that's about how the stuff works. Anyway, we got couple of things coming up. We got our main event on, let's see here, July 16th. We have Nikki Stevens. She's a communication expert, and we're supposed to have the rest of her information today so we can get it on the newsletter. The newsletter, for some reason, they got it out a little slow last week or last month, and I'm kind of thinking we don't know exactly where it was, but it might be the post office. I know I have a post office box in Cottleville, and it was due on like December 12th of last year, and I put a check in the box on it before Thanksgiving. So before the end of November, and they still have not credited the check, and they don't know where it went. So that'll just kind of give you an idea how good everything's going right now. So anyway, so we should have that. And the other, we do have a window expert, Jason Dickman, coming in, and Diekman, he will be, he's got a really good display. So we will have that, and you can always look at the website for more information on that. So let's see. I guess we could just go ahead and get started, and then we'll talk about, I got some other stuff we can talk about. We'll talk a little bit about our tax sales seminar and some other things. So Laura, you want to go ahead and give our disclaimer?
Sure. Okay, good morning and welcome, everyone. First, I'd like to do a bit of housekeeping. Feel free to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. Please be mindful of everyone else by muting yourself while others are speaking. You're welcome to put any contact information that you want to share into the chat. I'm hearing an echo. Is everybody else hearing that? We meet here to share deals, look for deals and solutions we have in need with our real estate. We are not your financial advisors, attorney, or accountants. We do not endorse or recommend any specific solutions or contractors here. You're advised to do your own due diligence to your own satisfaction before you invest. The first Friday of each month is Ask the Attorney with Ms. Catherine Davis. Our meetings are typically recorded, so only share what you want others to know.
Thank you, Laura. All right. Does anybody have anything they want to start us off with today? You can. Wait 1 second. I think I see where the echo is coming in. So give me 1 second here. This is not.
I can do it.
Take care of that.
Yay! Now there's only one of me.
All right, thank you. Okay, anybody have anything they're working on today? We said the second quarter is about to end, half the year. Did mention the main event coming up. That ought to be pretty good. We've been this time of year is a little bit more difficult, not difficult, but just a little more challenging, I guess, to get people to come out because everybody's kind of in vacation mode, which is I guess good. And the idea is to be on vacation all the time. That's how we're trying to arrange our life. You make part of your business part of everything. So a couple things, I guess I could just go ahead and talk a little bit about them. Missouri tax sale seminar we went to last week was put on by Scott Walterbach. He's an attorney out of Kansas City, the Gladstone area. He put together a great seminar. This is his third annual, which I didn't know about the other two, or I would have attended those because that's something I'm very passionate about is the tax sale processes. But there was a lot of people. Of course, Catherine Davis is the one that told us about it. She was one of the main speakers with and her counterpart from Kansas City is Julie Anderson. She's out of the KC area, and she actually is going to come and talk to our group at some point, and I'll let you know when she can work that in her schedule, but it will be on one of the Fridays here. And I don't know if she's going to be here with Kathy or not, but we haven't really got that on the schedule yet. But she's got some great stuff. She's very knowledgeable there, and it's the difference in Kansas City and St. Louis is quite amazing to me because Kansas City has pumped a lot more money into this stuff than St. Louis has so far. Now I know. We've got another meeting with the Housing Solution Coalition coming up on the 25th. I know, I see Stacy, she's a member of that too. And David, and I don't know if if she's actually scheduled that yet or not, but that'll be interesting. I just gave my RSVP, made sure we could make it. But there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. Kansas City, just for an example, we have we have the tenants' Bill of Rights coming up, on July 1st, where they're putting money in for the tenants' lawyers, for eviction lawyers, where they're not doing that for the landlords. St. Louis, though, is putting in $300,000, which it seems like a lot of money, but it's really not very much when it comes to attorneys. Just to show you the difference in Kansas City, they've got over $5 million they put in their fund out there. So there's a lot of attorneys that are working for the tenants getting evicted. So anyway, that was a lot of the stuff they brought up during our tax sale seminar. Of course, Catherine Davis and Julie Anderson both did a really good presentation on what to do with it. Because if you buy a house that has somebody in there for back taxes, there's a whole process on getting the people out. And I know I've only had one of those situations years ago on a property I bought it was down in Bismarck, Missouri. And my attorney, it took us about 6 months to get them out. And we had pretty good success with that compared to what a lot of people end up with. Some of the other attorneys, a couple more from St. Louis that were there, Jennifer West and Dale Sweet. You probably know Dale. He does a lot of quiet titles in the St. Louis area. The tax sale lady, Joanne Musa, you might have seen her. She's more of a national speaker. She's called the tax sale lady. She brought in a lot of good insights because just some of the stuff without getting too detailed, but some of the stuff she talked about, like in New Jersey, if you don't pay your utilities, that goes on the tax sale, and you can actually buy a lien on somebody's property just for their bills, like sewer bills and water bills and things like that. So there's a lot of different things. That's what makes in Missouri is pretty unique too. Something we've dealt with. It's a lien state and a deed state, which is very interesting. There's only a couple of states like that. Which we won't get into all the details today. But a lot of county collectors were there, a lot of attorneys. Michelle McBride was there. She did a great presentation. She's the collector for St. Charles County. Some of you, if you have any properties in St. Charles County, you might deal with her. Very knowledgeable, very smart person. And we had there were several others. There were some collectors. I got to meet a couple of them that I've dealt with over the years. It was kind of nice to meet people in persons. And one of the things we talked to Scott about, it was and Catherine Davis too, is we're looking at bringing the seminar over to this part of the state next year. They have them every year in June, and this would be very, very a very good seminar for a lot of you if you deal with this kind of stuff, because the people there are the top experts in the state. They talk about what goes on with the process. Missouri, as you may or may not know, is kind of a complicated state when it comes to tax sales anyway, because the first 3 years are basically a lien only, and if you buy any of those, and then the fifth year, well, actually, once it gets to the fifth year, which is 3 years of back taxes, then you can actually get the deed. But if you buy at the tax sale, it's a 1 year redemption period, and there's a lot of other things that go into that. So anyway, if you kind of tentatively, you may want to put it on your calendar for next year, because we're really looking at bringing the seminar here, and I highly recommend, if you're interested at all in doing something a little unconventional, that you go to this, if nothing else, just for your own knowledge. So Anyway, I guess that's about all I want to say about that. Okay, anybody have anything they want to buy or sell today? Anybody working on anything? Everybody ready for the holiday? Okay, well, there's a couple other things that I had I just wanted to mention. I don't know, some of you guys know that might know of Tom Painter. He's the one that did a lot of the coaching and a lot of the background with Robert Allen, who's one of my mentors and one of my coaches. He actually wrote Robert wrote the forward for my first book, The Secrets of a Dealionaire Revisited. And Tom Painter, we've become really good friends over the years, but he has an organization, actually a foundation that he put together. It's completely nonprofit, and it's called Success and Money Foundation.org. And he's got over 16,000 students now. This is a completely free education foundation that he's put together. And they take the money that they do raise. He gives out a lot of money, but they take them and they donate a lot to doctors and healthcare professionals around the world, such as in the Philippines, for eye care, because a lot of people over there cannot afford any kind of glasses. And I was surprised anyway. I don't know, you may not be, but I was surprised at how much something like that is needed. So, Tom, I can let me see if I have it. I've got I can give you, it's a free thing to join. I encourage you to go check it out, because the wealth library he has accumulated is probably unlike any I've ever seen. I mean, it's just full of just full of good mentors, coaches, people that wrote books. He's got, several things that he put together. It's absolutely free. I'll put a link in the chat. I dug this out this morning because I was looking at something else. He also does live classes every, 3 times a week, I believe it is. He does 2 on Thursday and then 1 on Friday. So this is something that you could actually get into. So if you choose to go look at it, but it's absolutely free. There's a link there. So if it doesn't cost anything to join, I recommend that you probably just go check it out, if nothing else. It's really good for kids. He's even broke this down. And I think he started off with his grandkids when he started this a couple of years ago, that were like 5 and 6 years old. So, I mean, it's very basic, and it goes to really pretty advanced trainings also. So that's something you may want to check out. So, and let's see, looks like Steve, you put something in here. He's looking for a framing carpenter crew. Are you there, Steve, somewhere? Let's see. There you are. What exactly are you looking for, Steve?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm extending a garage and a room over that with bathroom, and next to that is a mud room. And I need a crew that can do carpentry work, truss work. Truss is already ordered, and they have to install the truss and framework, all those ones. Mostly carpentry anyway.
Okay. What part of town is that in, Steve?
It's Overland. Overland.
Overland. Gotcha. Okay. And let's see. And what's a good, does anybody have anything they could share with Steve? And what's a good contact information
I can
that
put
you'd
it
like
here,
to
yeah.
share? Okay, here's your phone number. 314-226-3015. And you're looking for a
Right.
carpenter for the Overland area.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So anybody's got a carpenter? Anybody have anybody they're currently using they may recommend for him? Okay. All right. But
You have barndominium done. So who did that?
our barn
Your
dominium.
building. Yeah.
It's not quite done, but we had a lot of different people involved. It's actually 100 miles out of town though, so it's a little different getting
Oh,
people to come out here.
oh, I see. Okay, okay. So this will be
Yeah.
too far for them.
Yeah, I tell you, it's kind of challenging and I'm kind of glad you brought that up, but they actually just left for lunch. But they're working on some things right now. They're finishing some of the wraps. You can kind of see where they've been kind of working on some of that stuff. There's still just a couple of things inside, but yeah, it's a whole different process to get people to go out of town. And the people that actually come out here to work, the workers, they're coming from well, like the one guy, he comes from Potosi, the other guy comes from like up by Farmington. So they're kind of spread out. And that's
Oh,
still 25 miles from here. So
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's a different
Yeah, I
world.
had a crew working, but they went out of town, I think, because of this storm and everything,
Uh,
somewhere else in some other state. I think they went there.
uh, yeah, a lot of the workers do that. They follow the weather and
Right.
and work.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm stuck right now.
Well, I'll tell you, and let us know, Steve, what you end up doing here, because that's always good to share, because people are always looking for that kind of work. Um,
Yeah.
that's somebody, especially if you find somebody good.
Yeah. The problem was the trust. They took more than 2 months to do it, to
Oh,
manufacture.
wow.
And they are so slow anyway. So I have to chew them up. I said, what's going on? In 3 months, people build a house, and you are not preparing one trust in 3 months. you know, it's almost like 2.5 months. And now,
Well,
now it's ready. They're ready to ship. I said, I heard I don't have crew now.
yeah, that could be a factor. I know we started on this place they got the concrete poured like January of 2023. The framers and the people that do the inside started on this June of last year, and we're supposed to be done by November, and it's not done yet. So that kind of gives you an idea of how the
I
things.
know, I know very well. Because my permit being extended twice, and now this is third time it's going to expire, so I have to extend it again now
Yeah,
in the
that's
next week or two.
that's the thing dealing with municipalities too, Steve, is you've got to do that kind of stuff. We don't have
Right.
any regulations out here as far as that goes, but we do want it done right. That's the other thing.
But
And
their main problem is I had architect who hand draw it everything. Is older architect. He's a nice guy. Now city wants everything done by CAD,
hmm,
CAD drawing, my computer drawing. So that was the issue is, right now. Right now they want to switch. I said I'm not gonna spend that kind of money, for CADs. The drawing is already there. No changes been done. So it should be grandfather and keep on moving. But they said this is not a CAD drawing.
hmm. Yeah, the things are a little different than they were a few years ago too. I know when we first started out here, it was pretty much like 2021, and prices, material, labor, everything is different than it was just a couple of years ago. So, things that we used to estimate. In fact, I got another property we're working on. I decided to probably to take a discount on it this morning when I was dealing with the guy to go ahead and move on. Um, but it's just a lot different than it was as far as trying to get everything set up. Then you got your code enforcement inspectors, and they're all different from every different area.
Right.
So, okay, well, anybody can help Steve out. His phone number is 314-226-3015. So,
Thank you.
do please let us know what you end up doing with that. Okay,
I'll let you know. Yeah.
great.
I can do it, but I'm pretty slow. I'm old now. I can do that fast. I know the whole job. I can do it, but time is a factor. And
Sure.
I don't have that much energy to do that much work.
Yeah. I just don't want to get up on the ladders anymore. I didn't even want to I had to get the 8 foot
I
ladder
can do
out to
that,
get
but
up.
I mean, I cannot put the trusses up there way high. The trusses itself is 13 foot tall.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So that's another issue. It's double, almost like two and a half of my height. I cannot hold it steady there. You know,
I know
so
exactly
there's
what
a
you
lot
mean.
of challenges.
Mhm.
It looks like Linda put something in the chat there, Linda McCaskill.
Okay. Yeah, Linda, can you unmute yourself and tell us kind of what you're looking for here?
Or maybe she's not able to.
Yeah. Look, let's see. She's looking for what she put in here. Looking to buy a 3-bedroom single family, 50,000 or less, distressed properties, no fire damage, structural damage, no foundation issues or major problems. Missouri side of STL, any zip code. Okay, that covers a lot. She said you can text her with details, and her number is 314-498-0598. And her email is lamccaski25@gmail.com. Okay. And if you can't unmute at some point, Linda, you feel free to do so. But 50,000 or less, any zip code, that covers a lot. So if anybody's got anything. Okay. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share here?
Sure.
I do.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Blake.
Alrighty, Max. So I've got just a little bit of a economic update. I'm gonna try to, hopefully you guys can see this off of my phone. It's a little graph we got from MSCI, indicating United States multifamily transaction volume through the end of May. So we're down obviously approximately 75% from our peak of 21, 22, about 50% of pre-COVID average. So the bad news is it's been a very bad, rough 18 months, obviously in the multifamily capital market space. Good news is, personally, I struggle to see how the volume stays this low for an extended period of time. So I think in combination of the election coming up with lower interest rates, and obviously sellers have to accept this new reality, right? Of forced sales from debt maturities and distress will likely bring a pre-COVID transaction volume in the next 12 to 24 months, give or take. So just kind of an optimistic kind of forecast, but I do think that, sellers are starting to have this realization of, we transaction expectations aren't where they should be. And that's kind of just a little bit of a forecast. And I do think that in the coming, up until November, probably mid-September, I would expect another rate cut. I think this is one other indication of that. So if anyone else has anything to add on to that, but I figured I'd share that little graph from MSCI.
So is the summary, what you're saying is this a buyer's market?
We're gonna be heading there, in my opinion. Just because of the volume, I don't think that it's gonna stay this low forever. I think that people, especially with the debt maturities, that's gonna spike, our activity as far as being buyers goes, because you have all these loans being due that were, if especially on the commercial side, if they're if they have a 5-year balloon,
Hey, Blake. Blake.
Yes, David.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. I thought you were done. So let me ask you though a few questions. We barely saw it in the screen, but I did kind of see it. But volume. So I guess what you're saying by volume is the number of sales have dropped dramatically, and that's a two-edged sword. It's supply and demand. If there's no supply, then people are going to really pay a lot of money. So there's other factors that make what you say, the prices potentially go down, because right now in the single family housing market, that hasn't been true for 3 years. Our volume's been hugely down and our prices are skyrocketing. So what else do you really think is causing the prices to potentially drop in the future?
Well, you're able to, when rates go down, you're able to afford, obviously more of a house. So that would, if anything, that would kind of counteract what I was saying. But as far as more inventory, I mean, on the residential side, you got to remind yourself that and I believe this number, don't quote me, I want to say we're at like 750,000 missing homes. So you got to take that into account as well.
Right, yeah, and so I guess, what I'm looking at is that it seems like it, just like it is for single family housing, it's a factor of what the interest rates are. And I think in multifamily, I'm not an expert in multifamily at all, but I know they deal with things called cap rates and these other things like that. And so when your investment is the bank is charging you a high interest rate, your cash flow drops, dramatically. And so if that takes place, then people can't afford to pay, $10 million for an apartment building. So they have to drop. Two things happen: rates have to drop, or the price of the apartment building has to drop in order to get the cash flow back to what an investor would accept, as far as being the buyer. So I think your conclusions are probably right that it's going to be a buyer's market. But I don't think it has anything to do with volume. I think it has to do with the interest rates on there. And what I'm seeing and tracking in it is this side of it, because as you know, I do short sales on single family. Well, I'm running into the same case with the multifamily, that they can't physically possibly refinance, okay, because the rates have gone up. The banks are saying, hey, you had a 5% rate, when you bought this thing, and now rates are 9%. You got to come up with 200 grand to get your borrowed principal down so that the monthly payment qualifies for you being able to keep this place. And then those people don't have that money to do it. And so therefore they have to try to sell it. Well, they can't sell it either because it's the same criteria for a buyer. The interest rates are too high. So now they're basically going to the bank saying, hey, take this apartment building back. And those are golden opportunities for you to step in and do a short sale, with the bank. So I think there's going to be a lot of, I've done short sales on residential for 14 years. I've not done short sales in apartment buildings, but for the first time in 14 years, I'm really looking into that technique and developing. And I think, there's going to be a huge buyer's market coming up because of the resets on the loans. I don't know if you have any figures there on how many loans are resetting on their interest rate or not, but that's, I think, going to be the big key factor. Do you have any data on interest on loans that are coming due that have to be, refinanced?
Totally. I don't want to misspeak by any means, so I don't have any, as far as numbers go, I don't. What I do totally agree with you on is, that there's going to be some cap rate, compression. And I think there's going to be some space to bridge that gap between the bid, and the ask as far as when sales are coming up. But as far as you're addressing, what was it, the cap rate? I'm sorry, can you
No, I was just asking, like I said, I think the big factor is because multifamily, well, even single family rentals, but single family owner occupied is a 30-year loan, but multifamily is usually a 7-year loan or a 5-year loan, and that reads that
in many cases.
And stuff. And so I'm just going to, be looking for that data on, is it 10, 20, 30, 40% of the existing multifamilies? Are they coming due on their balloon note where they're supposed to, refinance or not? And I think that's what's going to drive, the price and make it a buyer's market unless rates drop dramatically.
Totally. Well, if we look, I mean, COVID-19. So technically, obviously, COVID really hit us, in the spring of 2020, which is obviously when rates were, pretty shallow. Meaning that if a 5-year balloon would be spring of 2025, right? So that's about, give or take 9 months from now, which is when we're going to start to see, not that we haven't now, but we're going to start to see even more of those notes becoming due. So that opportunity gap just expands. Would you agree with that?
Yep, that's kind of what I'm looking for there is, where were the interest rates at back during the COVID? And, is it a 5-year, 7-year loan type thing on it? But I think it's definitely an opportunity out there.
Yeah, great conversation. I know some people in another group that actually some investors that own properties in New York, and their 5-year notes are all coming due right now, stuff they bought, in 2018, 19, and 20, right before everything kind of went a little crazy. And some of these guys, I mean, they got some deep pockets, some of them, but they're bringing like $100,000 to the table to refinance their loan in several cases, or even more in a couple of cases. And they can do it, but that's the only way they're able to keep their properties because, the cap rates, of course, have changed, but a lot of things have changed too. And some of these are pretty big players. I mean, you got 300 unit apartments, in some of these places, and you got a lot of your money tied up. So what do you do? Do you bring money to the table? Do you sell at a really big discount? Or, I mean, I think what you're saying here is going to be really interesting to see what's coming up this year. Because we haven't even, I think we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg right now. The way, at least that's what they think too. And I mean, we're not into multifamily anymore. What little bit we've had, we've just had, less than 6 family, apartments at a time. And it's a whole different world, even though they were 5-year balloon notes too, or not a balloon, but yeah, 5-year notes where you have to adjust, and refinance. And I've always been lucky because most of ours we bought in the late 90s, early 2000s. So they've always went down. And we sold our last one, I think it was 3 years ago now. So right before all this hit. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. And yeah, David, if you ever try the multifamily short sales, I'd be real interested to see how those go, because that's a whole different beast than what I'm used to.
And following that, this is sliding the conversation a little bit more towards the retail side. I'm not sure how many retail investors we have in here, but for those who didn't hear, Walgreens last night they announced they are closing 25% of their main storefronts. So there's definitely a little bit of opportunity as for buyers looking to consider net present value buyouts for the remaining lease term payments, and then they could do almost like a lease back as far as the real estate side of the Walgreens business goes. So I just thought that was a little interesting too.
Yep, it'll be very interesting to see what comes up, because I know the retail space has been tough anyway for a while. I know in the smaller towns anyway, we've been looking for some stuff to do with a lot of them because they're everywhere. So.
What are your thoughts about commercial real estate? So do you think the commercial real estate is going down as well?
It definitely is going through some adjustments. I personally don't deal in that space. I don't see Laura on here. She's dealt with some little ones, Laura Linnington. Does anybody else have any experience with any commercial real estate?
That's a broad question. When you say commercial, do you mind being a little bit more specific?
So I am looking to buy any office space and rent it out. So do you think it's like even the real estate for the commercial buildings is going down, or
office space, are you what part of town? I mean in general, office
in
spaces
general?
in general. As far as my knowledge goes, and I think that downtown St. Louis is a great representation of it, given the fact that you have the AT&T building, the big, it's like 27 stories. You have a lot of these big downtown St. Louis buildings that are great illustrations of this conversation, but their vacancies are like, I want to say they're in the 80% range. Like obviously COVID is, that large contributing factor. But as far as being an investor in the office space, I can't say that's something that I would want to explore myself. It's, people are working from home. That being said, I mean, I think there's an opportunity in the office space if you're talking about like a co-working space, where it's more of like a, hey, I'm a real estate investor. I have this piece of real estate that I make it look super nice. I add it up. I put a little kitchen. I have very nice working facilities where you can rent that out. That being said, I think that the typical like, hey, office space. I don't think that it's looking very promising at all, and I think St. Louis, like I said, is a great illustration of that. And given a lot of their vacancy numbers, in downtown West is coming up soon. Downtown West is making moves, and a lot of that can be contributed to the soccer stadium. I think there's a builder talking about putting up like a multifamily space, developing one over there. But yeah, as far as downtown St. Louis goes, it's, and it shouldn't be a ton of news, shouldn't be huge news to anyone, but downtown St. Louis is really on a big decline,
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, Max, you were looking for some property?
Yeah, let me jump on in. I'll turn my camera on for a minute. So hey everybody, Max. So essentially just looking to buy either single or multifamily properties in DeSoto. And we can kind of, do duplexes or whatever, single families probably to rent them out. In terms of larger Jefferson County, because we currently have like a team managing some properties for us right now in DeSoto, it's easy to keep everything centralized, but we're happy to expand in Jefferson County as well. So if anybody knows of like 4 units and up, it's definitely, something that we're interested in, we'll look into.
Okay, you're looking for 4 units and up, you said, Max?
Well, so if it's in DeSoto, we'll take like a single family or like a duplex or something like that. If it's outside of DeSoto, like Festus, preferably like 4 units and up. Because right now we have a bunch of properties we're managing down in DeSoto. So, the closer it is, the easier it is, but the further away we get, we kind of just want to increase the volume.
Okay. All right. What's some good contact information for you, Max?
Oh, sure. 314-378-5615, and I'll put that in the chat as well.
Okay, that's 314-378-5615.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, excellent. All right. Okay, if anybody's got anything in the DeSoto area or Jefferson County, depending on what the deal is, but if you have anything, I guess the best thing to do is just call up and talk and find out, because you never know where the opportunities come from. Is there any certain dollar amounts you're looking for, or anything such as like any rehab conditions? Are you looking for fixer uppers or turnkey kind of type properties or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really just kind of depends on the opportunity. We're generally pretty open. So I work with my brother. So right now we're managing a decent amount of like senior housing down there. So like I'm really kind of like, I know that's pretty broad, but it really just depends. If it's a larger deal, we're kind of interested in that as well. Kind of like the bigger the better sort of thing. But again, with the whole multifamily discussion, the numbers really kind of have to just line up and make sense, where the debt aligns. But yeah.
Okay. And are you seeing anything with the loans right now, Max? It sounds like you've been doing this for a little while, with anything coming due or refinancing, that kind of stuff like we were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I'm not like super involved. I mean, my background was actually software engineering, and then, my brother started doing some multifamily and managing properties, and then kind of went off on his own. I know there's a couple people that kind of, started to begin the foreclosure process, it seems, and it's funny because they're refusing to discount their prices at the same time. So it's kind of like you're stuck, I guess, as Blake was saying, where there's not really a lot of transactions happening because nobody really wants to discount the prices. I know somebody else not that long ago that was looking to sell a portfolio of like hundreds of units, throughout Missouri. And at the same time, it's like, the prices aren't really lining up. So they're kind of going to have to just sit on it or hope that they maybe catch someone's 1031 exchange and they're willing to pay a premium. But I don't know. I mean, a lot of people say that things are going to become due. I have yet to see like a lot of that actually beginning to take place myself, but I definitely think that it's going to happen. Especially depending how aggressively someone, underwrote deals in the past. I mean, again, it's really hard to cover a difference, if the cap rate kind of floats up, or, even if someone maybe caught a couple of years of interest only or something along those lines. It could also be like an interesting period for them because, depending on the property, depending on what you bought, you can only ever push rents so much. One thing that I have noticed, in certain areas, maybe like St. Peter's, it seems that there's a lot of building going on as well, actually. And there's like almost like a surplus of apartments to some degree. And, it's funny, a long time ago, I read this book by Sam Zell. I think he wrote his autobiography, and he said something very interesting, which I think kind of falls to this timing, where he said that whenever money's cheap, everybody's going to try to take advantage regardless of whether or not it's like a good opportunity. So I feel that like everybody that's building, like, everything was set up some time ago, and then, cap rates kind of, or interest rates kind of started floating up. So I think it'll be interesting to see, because I think in some areas there's definitely like, potential problems of oversupply as well, which will just make it that much more challenging to fill the properties and then to actually cover the debt.
Some good points, Max. I've noticed a lot of building going on in St. Peter's and some of those areas too. And I had the same kind of thoughts. Are they going to be able to fill them? Is that many people really flocking to some of these certain areas? I don't know. I guess we'll see, but
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be an interesting time as well. I mean, in like the University City area too. I mean, there's quite a bit of building going on as well. So I'm really curious to see what's going to happen once that building is completed. Once those buildings are completed too.
Yeah, and yeah, that's some really good points. And we'll just see what happens. I know a lot of people, like you said, with the sellers not wanting to discount their prices. I've seen that a lot too. And some of the people are talking about people are just sitting on the sidelines waiting. And if they can afford to wait, that's what they're doing. And, like Blake kind of mentioned, maybe after the election, because it is a year and there's a lot of stuff going on, things will make some adjustments, and we'll see how that goes. I mean, it's, the people I see bringing, lots of money to the table to refinance, to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But you got to do what you got to do. If you have enough money tied up and that's a big chunk of your portfolio, you'll do a lot of things you may not normally have even thought about doing. So we'll see. We'll see. Good.
No, that definitely makes sense. But yeah, that's also a very interesting point. So
Some
thanks.
good thoughts. Yeah. Oh, I see Blake put your screen there. Thank you very much. Yeah. Yeah, that should have, we'll make sure we blow that up too on the recording so you can see that too. So thank you. Yep, good conversation. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share with us today? Looks like we got a lot of buyers out there, not a lot of sellers.
I have a couple duplexes, and one 4-unit that I need rehabbed. Nothing too crazy, but just some, just some paneling, some, maybe, I think we may have had a water leak in one of the units, just some minor stuff. They're all in the Wash U area. So if by chance we have any recommendations for a, just a general contractor who can go in there. We even do have some tuck pointing too, so the more versatile the contractor is, the better. But if anybody does have any recommendations, I would be more than willing to give them a call.
Okay, and that's the Wash U area, you said?
you. Yeah, so we got a couple off Waterman, Amherst, and Waterbury.
Okay, and what's some good contact information for you, Blake, that you
Yes.
like people to get a hold of yet?
You can do just my phone number is 636-489-8353.
53. Okay, that's 636-489-8353.
Yes. And then my email is just blake@silvermanrealestate.net.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Are you looking to have one person, or like one company do all of the rehab, or are you willing to kind of sub out individual jobs?
I mean, I would like to stick with the same, crew if I can, but I don't expect, a general contractor necessarily to do tuck pointing. But I know there are companies out there that offer A to Z. So I'll take them if they offer it, you know what I mean? We're school starts in about 6 weeks and we got to get these rented out. So we got to get a move on. And as far as some of these rehab projects go, they're nothing too crazy. They're maybe just some new cabinetry in the kitchens. Like I said, there's a little water leak. And then just some typical, flipping units, just switching them out.
All right, thank you. All right, anybody else have anything today? A lot of good conversations. I'll have like I always do, I'll have the replay up by midnight tonight. It's usually much sooner. I put it on YouTube, and then they'll have it on STLREIA in the member section. Whenever they get to it, I usually send it out to them before I get it on YouTube, or by the time, excuse me, by the time we get it on YouTube, but they don't always get it on there until Monday, sometimes depending on the webmaster. So, but it will be there by midnight tonight. That's always my rule. So. All right. Anybody else have anything today? Let's see. Let me check chats here. Okay. Okay. All right. Anybody else? No, everybody's ready for their holiday week coming up here?
Yeah, John, I got a question.
Sure.
Are we going to be meeting next Friday on 4th of July?
Yes, it's the 5th. It's actually my birthday, but we'll be here anyway.
Okay, great.
Yes. Yep, we haven't missed one yet, and we don't plan on it. And I've had to make arrangements, I think 3 times now when I wasn't able to do it, but there's really no excuse anymore. You got Zoom anywhere in the world, as long as you got internet or Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So even if we meet for just a few minutes, it's always a good idea.
So even if I'm laying by the beach somewhere, it's,
Correct.
on Zoom, just don't show my legs, right?
Well, there's
Well-
probably not just your legs we may not want to see.
All right,
I was gonna say-
okay,
I was
cool.
gonna say the same.
That could be his birthday present. Who's to say?
No, I don't need any presents though.
Yes.
Got enough stuff going on, but no. Yeah, we'll meet though. That's yeah, we even met on what was it, Easter, Good Friday. We still have a pretty good crowd because we can, some people can make it because of that, and some people can't because of that. So we just kind of leave that open.
Hey, I've got one for Sonia, HVAC duct cleaning. I'll put it in the chat box. Actually, you know what? Give me a couple seconds to look it up because I don't have the phone number. Pam Ebert is a realtor and has a company
Okay.
for duct cleaning. So let me get it out of my phone and put it into the chat box and then tell you what the phone number is. But she's
Yeah, thank you.
Charles does a good job.
Oh yeah, I see you asked for HVAC duct cleaning too, and then it looks like Blake answered with Dole heating and AC. Yeah. We had a guy that rented it from us many years ago that did that duct cleaning. He stayed for many, many years, and he kept those ducts clean as could be at that house, which you would expect, but not necessarily counted on. So
I'm a new homeowner. So how often do we need duct cleaning?
that's a good question.
Do you smoke, have pets?
No.
Then depends on how clean you are as a person.
Uh, I bought this house last year. So we only two people live in this single family unit. Yeah, we have a pretty clean house, but I mean, it's a little off track. The entire family is getting skin rashes and itchiness, and we couldn't find a reason why we are getting them. So I'm thinking it could be air quality because everyone in the house getting them, including the baby. So
Yeah,
Could
but
also
definitely
try
try cleaning for that.
yeah, you could try
that's
air
what I'm thinking.
purifiers too.
We had a contractor many years ago who came in and thought duct cleaning was, I don't know whether he was actually inspector, I think he was just a contractor, said that duct cleaning wasn't really necessary. But I guess it's how good your filter is and how good you clean the inside. But with all these allergies seemingly increasing in amount, like I think mold, for example, was like 28,000 yesterday. And so it's like it's kind of hard to avoid that unless you just seal up your house and don't go outside. But yeah, so
Yeah.
I guess it's up to you. But yeah, I guess some people have bad filters or don't have any filters at all, or you have tenants that don't change the filters, so those ducts can get full of all sorts of stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Thanks for sharing your ideas.
That's a great point, Bruce. Yeah, I've heard that too, but it probably depends on what happened before. She bought the house last year, so you may not know the history of what's gone on in the house. And I know with ours, even the brand new stuff out here, because of all the work they were doing inside, ours was we changed the filter several times, even with the brand new unit, because of all the dust and all the sawdust and everything that the contractor stirred up. So yeah, the ducts were okay because ours were completely brand new, but the filters, we just last week I just bought a big box of them now, and I got a dozen of them, just because I got tired of going up and buying a couple at a time. So, plus things are different in small towns than big towns as far as your supplies and what you can buy. The Super Walmart in Fredericktown is a lot different than the Super Walmart up in maybe St. Louis or somewhere else. So,
Hey, come on. I was just in the Fredericktown Walmart. It was just fine.
well, I remember buying stuff at the one before they moved out by the highway, before it was a super center, and it's still a lot different. It's not what you would think of a super center.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You got to go up to Farmington to really get what you're looking for.
They call that the city. People around here call it the city. So, that's not what I consider the city, but that's okay.
Now, my dad's 80-acre farm is just down south of Fredericktown in Coldwater, Missouri. So he's got 80 acres down there. So I usually stop by. I say it's about 20 minutes from their house. And I usually text my mom, "Hey, Mom, coming down. Want me to stop by Fredericktown and pick anything up for you, so you don't have to make a 20-minute trip there and back, to the little podunk Walmart and stuff." So I usually pick groceries for her.
Actually, it's not bad. They have a pretty good selection for what they are. They do actually have some grass-fed hamburger there and a couple of meats, not too much, but they do have some stuff, and it's a lot of fun to go there. We're in Mine Lamont though, but it's about 5 miles from Fredericktown, probably 7 miles now that they moved the Walmart from there. But it takes 20 minutes to get there. But you can ride your side by side with no plates if you're inclined to do so. And they do also have salt for the salt pellets for the water softener, which I was kind of surprised, but they have exactly what we need. It's just about $3 more per bag. So not too bad. All right, a lot of good conversation. Anybody have anything else they'd like to share with us today? Coming up on the hour here. And like we just kind of talked about, we will meet next week. Same time, same place. And I hope everybody's ready for their holiday. At least everybody here in the US. I'm in some other groups where they're in some of the other countries and they didn't have a clue about what we were doing with Independence Day. So people in Australia and some of the European people didn't know anyway. Some of them do. In Canada, most of them know. But I always enjoy my Monday night group because when Gingy, she tunes in from Australia, she's down there by the Gold Coast, and it's always Tuesday morning there. So I know the world is not going to end on Monday night for us. We have at least one more day. So however crazy things seem sometime, we always have a little bit of hope because she's drinking her coffee on Tuesday morning during our meeting. So that's always good. So. All right, a lot of good conversations. We do have a couple other things coming up on the 19th of July, which is a Friday right after our meeting. That's just a couple weeks now. I talked to Hunter Steffen. He's with the Cost Segregation Authority. You might remember them from, I think it was about 2 years ago. They talked to our group. And there's a couple of things that they're going to particularly talk about, things I'm not really even familiar with, but it has to do directly with real estate investors. One of them is called the 179D energy deduction, depending on how you have your units set up. And the other one is the 45L energy credit. And again, I don't have a clue on these, but he's gonna, it will be on a different link, but we're gonna have it timed where they're gonna start right after us, after we get done with this call at noon. He was gonna do it a little bit earlier, but then he decided they were able to change that for us, so that'll be good. So we'll have a little bit more information on that in the next couple weeks. Let's see what else. I did mention the Julie Anderson, the attorney from Kansas City, Catherine Davis's counterpart over there. She's going to set up a time to talk to us on a Friday at some point. So it'll be very interesting. I know we do. I don't see Amber on here today, but I know we do have a couple of investors. Actually, we've had several here from the Kansas City area and from that part of the state, which will be very interesting to see there. One of the nice things too about what Julie has on her website, she has every legal farm for Missouri and Kansas. So that's something that she shares willingly, and we'll put a link out, for that stuff. But she has everything you could possibly need as far as the farms go. And you can get that for no cost. So she'll be sharing that with us. That's really good that I was just amazed on how much they put into that. So if you're looking for more stuff for your own personal wealth library, that's a good place to download farms and just notifications and publications that we don't need them every day, but when you need them, they're invaluable. So that's something to keep in mind. Don't really have anything else, but if anybody else has anything they'd like to share, we got about one more minute. Please feel free. If not, we will have the replay up tonight on YouTube. It'll be on the website at least by Monday at the latest. That's normally about how long it takes for them to, depending on what their schedule is, with the webmaster. So if nothing else, I guess have a great weekend, good holiday coming up, and we'll see you next Friday. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.